Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas, and today is a very special conversation that we are going to be having, which comes very close to the Teachers' Day that is observed in India, coinciding with the birth anniversary of Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan ji, who not only led India as a president, but also he inspired people to focus on knowledge. I have the pleasure of welcoming for this conversation two esteemed panelists, one joining from Jaipur, another from New Delhi. So here they are. Nitin Saraswat, namaste, joining me from
Namaskar,
Jaipur.
sir.
You are a mental trainer as well as a counselor, and Professor Dr. Sudhir Bisht joining from New Delhi. Sudhir, namaste.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Uh, and I would mention also that I have had the pleasure of studying with Sudhir ji at Jodhpur Management Program, and that was many, many years ago when there was not even one hair which would look grey. And now we have a lot of experience in our belt. So, Nitin ji, I will begin with Sudhir ji. He was a very, I must say, active student. And when I say active student, he was also active in areas which are not necessarily directly related to academics. So let us begin with that. Sudhir, sometimes people have had this idea that if you are focused on sports and extracurricular activities, then you are not a good student. Your take on this particular notion?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Number one, I must compliment you for this question. See, it is like this. Every human being has a propensity towards something. That propensity could be towards sports, it could be towards music, it could be towards acting, it could be towards fine art. But the faculties of the student, if a student is good and he applies his mind onto that subject, he excels. So I have personally observed and I have personally seen that there is a student who is very good at sports. If the same person applies his mind with equal passion to studies, he would excel there also. So I don't buy that theory that people who are good at sports are not good at academics. It's a matter of your propensity, your inclination, and where your heart leads you to. So that's my answer.
Beautiful. And Nitin, the same question to you. And as a mind trainer, um, when people come to you with a problem and parents say that my son cannot concentrate, my daughter cannot concentrate, how do you look at the role of extracurricular activities?
Uh, Ashok ji, it's like when we say extracurricular activities, actually what made them extra? That's the question that we should ask first. And what is the purpose of that so-called in the curriculum activities? The only and only purpose of anything that we are studying as in the curriculum activities is to develop logical thinking, because accumulated knowledge, 90% of the accumulated knowledge, that will never be utilized in a lifetime. So what actually we are looking at when we are educating a child, number one, the discipline, number two, the hard work, and number three, the development of logical thinking and aptitude. That's what I say. So be it an so-called extracurricular activity or be it the in curriculum activity, the point is how much that purpose is being solved. No matter how it is being solved, if it is being solved by playing cricket, then I think that is in curriculum activity, more of an in curriculum activity rather than that reading a book and becoming a bookworm, which is developing no rational thinking whatsoever in the mind.
So, Sudhir, what he said takes me to a different paradigm in terms of understanding education, which has not generally been the way we associated with education. This is like you have these five questions and how much marks you get, and then the percentage, and that determines the future course of action. So, what Nitinji just mentioned about developing logical thinking and these things, what they are part of the way we studied in schools, What do you think? Or it was just to mug up and kind of get marks?
Uh, the answer is partly yes, and the answer is partly no. See, mugging up has been a part and parcel of passing the examination. However, if you recall, like when we studied for management degrees, so we needed to know the salient points and the basic points. But the management examination is such that it requires you to dwell upon those points, to extrapolate those points to prove a hypothesis. So mugging up remains a part of the curriculum which is taught in India, and I dare say everywhere in the world, unless you have an open book system. However, now this paradigm is being challenged. We have universities which are going for open book examination. To give you an example, when I conducted my own internal examination for the course of business ethics and CSR, I said you can have an open book policy. A student who is giving an examination online, he could consult any book, any notes, or any of his friends. Because what I am trying to ask them, or what I am trying to assess from them, as Nitinji said, is their ability to analyze objectively. It does not matter that if you have chosen the wrong methodology, as long as your basic concept of approach to a problem is right. So I agree with you that mugging up remains, but new theories are emerging, and more institutions as well as teachers are embracing a new approach. So that is my answer.
So now, Nitinji, the teacher and the taught. What makes a teacher a good teacher in your opinion, Nitinji?
Only one thing: how much student centric a teacher can be. If a teacher can look at a subject or a matter from a student's eye, and that too from the weakest link of their student fraternity. It's like if I have 10 people I'm teaching, my weakest student, how many questions, what kind of problems and hurdles that person is going to have when they are trying to when this whatever I'm teaching it gets synced in. So if a teacher can approach it like that, and if a teacher can allow students the freedom to tell the teacher that I do not understand, how much openness a teacher can create, the fear, how much fear you can eradicate, that makes you a wonderful teacher.
I think these are very important points, and if there is a student-centric teacher that is dependent on lot of factors. Of course, starting from the personality of the teacher, how much patience he has, how much empathy is there, but also the system sometimes don't give you enough of leeway to pay special attention to different students. For example, if you have 70, 80 students in the class, we are talking about all potential classes. So, Sudhirji, what do you think? Is it the personality of the teacher that makes it student centric, or system has a role to play there?
See, a personality is a manifestation of your underlying belief and your espoused values. So, if you have certain underlying beliefs and it leads you to the formation of espoused values, it will reflect in what is called artifacts. There is a very famous sociologist, Edward Schein, who said artifacts are what are reflected. So, personality is nothing but an outward manifestation of your inner core belief. So, I agree to Nitinji that when he says a teacher has to be student centric, perhaps I would like to develop more on that. I would say, if you are not a disciple of Ma Saraswati, you should not be a teacher. It is only if you have the blessings of Ma Saraswati, that it instills in you a sense of duty towards the student community and towards the larger aspect of humanity. Because it is not right, or it is commonplace to say that teachers are nation builders. But if teachers are not nation builders, then who is nation builder? I ask you a question today in Afghanistan, Taliban which means students. Taliban essentially means students. So it is what they were taught in the bylanes of the madrasas, that they have taken their country to that. So unless Ma Saraswati blesses you, which also means unless you teach, you treat your profession as a sense of duty to humanity, you cannot be a good teacher. Once you have that basic belief, everything comes to you naturally. You will become a better communicator. You will yourself try to gather knowledge from as many sources. You will become a master of the students, and you will become a student-centric teacher, as Nitinji said. If you are a true devotee of Ma Saraswati, I may look very old-fashioned, but believe me, this is the perpetual truth.
Very well said, Dr. Sudhir Bisht and Nitinji. When we hear such words, there is a sense of vastness, because what he says is, if you are uh, committed to serve the humanity, which means it is not just the physics, biology, or whatever, chemistry, whatever subject it is, there is a big picture that the teacher has in his or mind. Uh, do you agree with this? And if I may bring another side, whether it is the reference of Ma Saraswati, the way we relate to Ma Saraswati, or if there is another tradition, still they have the same core sense of sanctity about a teacher's relationship with the taught, and overall what kind of a human being he is going to evolve and become. Your take, Nitinji.
Dr. Sudhir has put it so beautifully, and Dr. Sudhir, please allow me to add to it, and let me know if I did justice to what you said so wonderfully. I think when Dr. Sudhir mentions Ma Saraswati, it is not the Ma Saraswati, the goddess only. It is the spirit Ma Saraswati he is talking about. So maybe a teacher might be a Christian or not
Right,
from an Indian tradition, and not may not be knowing anything about Ma Saraswati.
right,
It is the dedication and the passion that I draw pleasure by letting myself know that whatever I wanted to teach has become taught. It sunk in. Is my knowledge, it got converted into the wisdom. That is the thing which he means by Ma Saraswati, I guess. So that's so wonderfully put, and I would like to take two three things, and I would like to put two three things into it. Number one, when we think of a teacher, even if a primary teacher who is teaching standing line, sleeping line, nowadays they are talking about integrated teaching, and the best example of integrated teaching is in Dr. Sudhir's words, the disciple of Ma Saraswati's teacher, or in the broader sense, it is the one passionate about teaching. Because no matter what you are teaching, that becomes integrated teaching if you are dedicated to the one word called wisdom. Whatever I am delivering, is it getting converted into wisdom? If the teacher is of that sort, then no matter even if this exam pattern makes the student cram or mug up, the teacher's impact will create one kind of attitude inside that will always ask and drive the student to convert whatever they study into wisdom. It will sink in.
So, allow me, Sudhir, to seek your input on the word wisdom, and then we have another word knowledge. There is one word information, and most of the time we confuse information with knowledge, especially in the internet-dominated period. We think answer to all the question lies in Google. Your take on the difference between wisdom, knowledge, and information. Sudhir.
Thank you very much for this question. See, there is something called DIKW theory. It's a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is data, DATA, data. So, data is nothing but it's a collection of some figures. For example, if I give you a figure of 56, 78, 42, 98, this is data. So many kgs. It means nothing. Above the data is information. So if I tell you this is the data of people who are traveling in my boat, this is their weight. So this becomes information. So data comes over information. And if we take knowledge, knowledge is one level above information. The boat in which we are all traveling can take up to X kg, otherwise the boat will sink. So this is knowledge, and above that is wisdom. So if it means that I have to throw some people out of this boat, whom do I throw? So I will throw that man out of the boat who is a very good swimmer. And I say, okay, Dr. Sudhir Bisht, you're an Olympian swimmer. I have to let you go. Please dive into the river and please swim to the shore to safety so that other three can be saved. This is wisdom. Wisdom is nothing but to be able to use all the data, information, and knowledge in a very meaningful manner for the greater good of a system, society, humanity. So, this is the difference between data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And a great teacher is one who is able to impart in his students a sense of wisdom. That's it.
That's so beautifully put. And while I was listening about data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, I was also reminded of another word which is in the same lineage, which is intelligence. So, would I be right in saying that intelligent person is the one who also is wise enough to apply the knowledge in a practical manner?
Absolutely. And so beautifully put by Dr. Sudhir. I would just simplify it in a common man's language. So I say, let's divide everything we know or we teach into three things. Number one, I know. Number two, I know is information. Then, did I process that information? When I have processed that information and I have made notes, workable notes of it, then it becomes knowledge for me. But when it becomes one kind of logical system in my head and it goes deep in heart, then it becomes wisdom. So it's like, what was wisdom for Steve Jobs when he was a college dropout. So he learned calligraphy, but he used that calligraphy when he was designing his first MacBook. That was wisdom.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And here I would like to quote one almost forgotten personality of our ancient time, Rishi Dattatreya. So Rishi Dattatreya had 23, 24. Yeah, Rishi Dattatreya. Yeah, for our listeners, viewers, he Durvasa's sibling. So at one one set of parents have two children, two sons. One is Durvasa, equally knowledgeable, but not able to use that on his own anger. And second is Rishi Dattatreya, who learns from even a honeybee. He learns from earth and 23 to 24 elements and things he sees. So that is what a teacher can do. That is what Mata Ansuya did. So actually the only teacher he had was Mata Ansuya, who converted that tool called mind into a logical machine that can convert every information into wisdom. So that's a teacher for you, who can convert this tool into a logical mind, into a logical tool. So every information becomes wisdom, and then you can utilize it anywhere in the world.
Sudhirji, because the reference of Bhagavan Dattatreya came earlier, you also mentioned about Ma Saraswati. So, spiritual knowledge or spirituality, that word also comes to my mind. And as I bring that up, where logic has a role to play, yet it is something which makes you aware that the normal mind's logic may not apply beyond the sense perception. So we won't get into that detailed conversation. But Sudhir, tell me, what makes a student a good student?
Essentially, all students are good students. That is the right answer. It is upon the teacher how he is able to inspire all the students to achieve what the teacher wants them to achieve. Some students may be very methodical, some students may be more meritorious, and some students may have higher degree of concentration. Some students may not have these qualities. So it is incumbent upon the teacher, as Nitinji said in his opening remark, that a teacher has to approach his teaching from the point of view of the weakest student. And it is upon a teacher to be able to involve all the students in the program. So it is unfair for me as a teacher to say who is a good student. I would say all students are equally good. Of course, some students are more gifted, some students are less gifted. But if you are asking me, how can a good student, how can he be able to attain more knowledge or more wisdom? I would say if the student leaves himself at the hands of the teacher and he surrenders himself to the teacher completely. Mind you, I am saying he surrenders himself to the teacher completely without giving away his basic vivek. He can become a very good student. I give you an example. When I was in school, there was a teacher whom I respected very much. And that teacher was, all teachers are prone to make mistakes in life. A good student is the one who will appreciate that the teacher has limitations. And if he wants to have a point of argument with the teacher, he reserves his point and discusses that with the teacher later on. So I am biased towards the theory that all students are good students. Some are more gifted, some are less gifted. But it is up to a teacher to bring them up to the same level.
Beautifully put. All students are good students, and they say that no questions are stupid, only answers could be stupid. And Nitinji, we just have a minute to go. Same question, and anything else that you want to add in the theme, the teacher and the taught.
So beautifully put. So it's like, which lamp is a good lamp? So it is the light, that the spark that lights a lamp. The lamp is, if a lamp is there to be lit, then it is about the one who is lighting the lamp, that he has to make sure that it's a very well illuminated lamp. So every student has the equal capacity. It's like we have to ensure, are we dedicated enough? So it's when, like, they say, when a child is born, with the child the mother is born. Same way, when you become a teacher and you get a student, with every student you are born again as a teacher. So you have to reinvent yourself, you have to reinvent your ways of teaching to find which lamp requires what kind of spark. So if a teacher is not able to provide a spark, the teacher needs to reinvent. The problem is with the system, sometimes overburdening, system problem, etc., etc. But that cannot be an excuse. That cannot be an excuse to kill a potential and saying that was not a good student.
So I must appreciate Dr. Sudhir Bisht and Dr. Nitin Saraswat for enlightening us on this very, very important key subject related to our lives. And all of us are good students because life is a teacher, and to learn as much as we can in a very specific, unique way which suits us is the key. Once again, with lots of good wishes as well as pranams to all the teachers. And if, as they say, mother is the first teacher, so pranam to all the mothers. And indeed, we all learn from each other, and learning, it satisfies us. Ultimately, life is all about learning. One day came and we started learning to speak, and now we can communicate. And there is so much that depends after you have taken the first step. So let us be open, as probably Nitinji or Sudhirji said, to learn and appreciate. And I once again appreciate both of you with the claps. And on that note, may we all be good learners and appreciate the beauty and joy and abundance of life with kindness. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.